Hey guys, how's it going? Preparing here. Today I want to talk to you guys about the future of Diablo 3. Now I've kept up with the news on Diablo 3, checked out the game every here and there. Obviously I'm not playing it because it's a snooze fest right now. The game is totally solid, but I've played it through and through, and what's been improved in the last month or so just hasn't piqued my interest quite yet. And I want to talk to you guys about what creates a successful game and why I think Diablo 3 is actually going to get there someday. And I'm talking about the really successful stuff. So the last few games of Blizzard that have been, in my opinion, some of the best in video gaming out there, I think it really started with Diablo 2. In Diablo 2, the system is very clear. There is a huge curve to obtaining like the best items, but that isn't the ultimate goal. The goal is a combined one between leveling, acquiring the items, and talking through the game, developing a small community to help you acquire these items. The goal really is, for a lot of people, I think for the majority of people, to really try to get pretty high up on the ladder, high enough that they're satisfied with how they've done, get enough items this ladder, get to a satisfactory level, and with whatever time there's left in the ladder, PvP and do all that stuff, and make alts, that kind of stuff. And the system is really revolved around the ladder, but it works. In Diablo 2, it's hard to get the really good items, but you eventually get them. And in that game, they don't really make better items. I mean, they do every now and then, but in the larger scale, they don't. They solve that issue by just moving the ladder to the old stuff, and it creates a system where there's a constant incentive for players who used to play the game or players who want to bring their new ideas to the table to the next ladder to see how much better they will do relative to the other people playing it. And it's an incredibly well-designed system. Their next biggest hit from Blizzard, World of Warcraft. Holy shit. This game has a very, very simple dynamic, but it is so top-notch, it still has me playing the game today, as a matter of fact. And it's as follows. The PvP is okay, but honestly, a lot of people, in my opinion, see PvP as kind of like a side thing. It's fun, and when they're bored with whatever they're doing, they'll go and hit up some PvP. I think most people end up doing PvP that way. I don't think PvP is the highlight of World of Warcraft, but that's not saying it's bad. I just think it's kind of standard. What really hits up World of Warcraft is the PvE. And this is the system that has been so successful over the years. So, a new content patch comes out. There's much better gear than you had before. And the bosses that they put in the game on the hardest difficulty are close to impossible without acquiring this gear. So it becomes a very, very tight competition because the difficulty is dictated by the gear, but getting the gear is a problem because getting the best gear has you facing a wall based on a lockout. And many people see this as a cop-out in most cases, but in this case it isn't. See, the way it works is you get your group together, you get 25 people, you kill all the bosses on normal mode, you get the loot, then the next week comes around, you kill maybe a few of the bosses on heroic, you get some of that really sweet loot, then you get hit on like a boss where you can't meet the tank requirements, you can't meet the DPS requirements, maybe you don't have enough healers or something like that, and you just can't do it. I mean, you try and try and try again. Your mastery of the fight counts, but it doesn't count for everything. It's a combination of the mastery of the fight and the gear that you have. And it becomes this huge push of everything you have. You give it everything. And even then, you will likely get beat by someone else who did it a little bit better. But, this system still includes everyone. People who don't have as good of a raid group, don't have the skills, who don't have the gear that they started with, at the same level as the other guys, they're still able to compete kind of on their own scale, but still they're in the race, they're interested. They're still getting the gear upgrade, they're still progressing through the content. And it becomes a very inclusive system. People eventually clear all the content, a couple weeks go by, Blizzard spams the nerfs on all the bosses, and then everyone gets to experience the content, even on the hardest difficulty level. They pretty much do this every like 6 to 8 months, and it has worked out well enough that it's still one of the most popular games out there today. And yeah, it's pretty good stuff. Now, when it comes to Diablo 3, it was facing enormous problems on playability and endgame, at least to start. You essentially got what was then the best gear, and that was it. The game was easy in the best gear. Bam. I mean, what do you do? I just spent like, I don't know, like fucking 5 minutes talking about the other two games. I just did Diablo 3 in 2 sentences, right? So you know there's problems with the game. And they are addressing those problems. Recently, Blizzard released some information on 1.0.5, and they want to develop a system where you can gauge your own difficulty, and the more difficult you make it, the more you are rewarded with items and experience and probably certain other perks that will later be implemented in the game. This is a good system. It's a good system, especially combined with the Paragon system, because the Paragon system, with the Paragon levels, they also have those kinds of incentives. They incentivize you to play the game, and it adds another attribute to the equation. You're trying to maximize experience at the same time that you're trying to maximize the flow of items. So it becomes a little bit more of a complicated game because, you know, with every patch, as I've seen from patch 1.0.4, instead of resetting the game based on a ladder, they're just going to put up a bunch of overpowered items in the game because my guess is they just make more money on the real money auction house doing that. And I mean, they probably think that works better. I don't know if it works better, but I mean, it gives people an incentive to find the gear. And if you want to find the gear, you want to find the gear the fastest way. To find the gear the fastest way, you have to get that Paragon, you have to do it on a higher difficulty level. To do it at that level, you need to gain experience at the same time, you have to get the items. So it's a more complicated equation. There's a lot more playability, and I think they're really headed in the right direction. Originally, with patch 1.0.3 in Diablo, they just put up a bunch of bullshit that actually set the game back, in my opinion, because they nerfed it for no reason, and they did a lot of other stupid shit like tripling the repair costs. So, yeah, pretty disappointing there. But in the last 2 patches, which have got the community talking a lot more, have got a lot more people playing Diablo 3, the direction is really positive, but it's not quite there yet. I think PvP will help a lot, but I don't think that's even going to be it either. I think Blizzard, though, is noticing the problem. The problem is there's a lack of incentives, there's a lack of, you know, consecutive gameplay on a timeline. The game doesn't encourage people to come back to it. It doesn't encourage people to play. So it's really missing that big deal. It's missing the system like the other 2 games that they've had that have been so successful still have today. But I think they're addressing it. I think in the next few patches, my guess is by the end of 2013, Diablo 3 will really be one of the top games out there because they're seeing the problem and they're getting it fixed. And hopefully they get their shit together because I want to play me some Diablo 3s, but the snooze fest aspect has got to go. Go ahead and fix it, guys. See you guys tomorrow.